Past Lives is A24's Korean and English release, written and directed by Celine Song in her directorial debut, with a story loosely based on a similar experience that she had with a childhood friend. The story follows Na Young, or Nora as she later becomes, who's played by Greta Lee, and Hae Sung, who's played by Tae Yoo, over the course of 24 years of their lives. As we meet them, they're childhood best friends who speak of one day getting married to each other, but Na Young is also immigrating to America for a new life she wants to build. They reunite over Skype 12 years later while Hae is a student drinking and partying after completing his mandatory military service in Korea, and Nora is becoming a successful playwright in New York. When they chat again, Hae is now the only person who calls her Na Young, including her mother, but they discover that the chemistry is just as electric as it was when they were children, taunting a life for both of them that may not actually be possible. Fast forward 12 years and they meet again when Hae visits New York, but now Nora is married. At face value, this is kind of a simple love triangle conceit about people. The question is, are they destined to be together? But at one point, there's a delightfully meta conversation with Nora and her American husband, Arthur, who's played by John Magaro, who is excellent in this, by the way. He only plays kind of a supporting role, but he absolutely smashes every scene he's in and every line delivery he has, where he kind of spells out the assumed plot, saying that he's the white evil American in the story, the obstacle to their love, and their story is much more powerful. Whereas Nora then reassures him that that's not how life works. Nora teaches him about the concept of Inyan, which is a Korean concept which means providence or fate, but specific to love and relationships. For example, if two people married, then they'd have 8,000 layers of Inyan over 8,000 lifetimes. If you're a Black Mirror fan, you may remember the episode Hang the DJ, which discusses kind of in a techie Black Mirror kind of way, the very similar concept where they run a simulation in kind of this in this modern futuristic dating experiment where they run simulations to test if it's the person that you're destined to be with, and 1,000 times in the simulation the people involved choose each other, so that shows that they're destined to be together. And that's what Past Lives is exploring, but also challenging in many ways the concept of a predestined yin-yang, or soulmates, I guess is what we would call it over here, where no matter where life takes you or what you go through, there's one person out there who's made specifically for you, who sees you at your core and who connects with you on that level. Or do we have multiples of these people, but life takes you on an individual journey, and who you end up with is more the most suitable person for your individual journey or for that point of your life? Again, these are thoughts which, even if we haven't verbalized them in that way, we've all kind of had probably at some point. Song script is absolutely gorgeous and opines all of these questions, with characters openly working through them in a way that puts words in the feelings that, like I said, we've all probably felt before, but probably been unable to define. At one stage, for example, Arthur observes to Nora, "You never sleep talk in English, you only dream in Korean. You dream in a language I can't understand. It's like there's a whole place inside of you where I can't go." But where the magic really happens here is off the page. The film revels in the great unsaid, or the space between the characters, or kind of the slight glances or the pauses in conversation that portray deep vulnerabilities that we all instantly identify with on a very personal level. Like, this film hits you at your core and hits you on a very real level. The moments of kind of deep connection and understanding of someone who sees a part of your soul that others can't, or where you wonder what could have been versus what might be in the future, or those little, those walks you go on, like after something happens, like maybe it's after a date goes well or after a breakup, which are unremarkable on the surface, and the real world is just continuing around, but you're in your own kind of little bubble trying to figure it out and carrying the world's problems in your head, or at least that's how it feels. The symbolism here is also brilliant. In the beginning, there's a scene where the kids are walking home from school and going in two different directions. It's a bit of an obvious kind of bit of symbolism, but at the same time, it's poignant how Hae has to call Na Young back, and like she is going for it. She is leaving. That's it. She's saying goodbye, but he has to call her back to be acknowledged by her, to be seen by her, because again, otherwise she's just going to go in her direction. Later in life, they're actually talking in New York, but there's a huge distance between them, and there's a merry-go-round in the background. So there's loads of this symbolism. And again, like I said, the physical kind of positioning of them, the space between them, and how that changes and contrasts, and how kind of they look at each other and look to close that space, but they might find it difficult at times, and so on and so forth. That stuff matters, and that stuff really plays a part. There's one scene in it where they're just standing at one stage. They're just standing and kind of looking at each other. And it's so powerful and gripping. You're sitting there and it's like you're watching the most kind of intense heist scene you've ever seen, but you're that kind of invested in it as what's going to go on. And literally nothing's happening, but they're just kind of looking at each other. It's brilliant. In case you can't tell, I really, really like this movie, as is everyone. Look, it's getting really awards buzz. It's up there for Best Picture, I'd say. To be honest, at the moment, I think it has that absolutely wrapped up. Whether I think it's the Best Picture or not, I think it ticks all the boxes, and I think it's going to do really well. It's the type that I think is going to live in my head for the next while. I'm going to be constantly thinking about it. I think everyone is coming away from it with that, but not the type that kind of traumatizes you, not the type that upsets you, just the type that, again, just makes you rethink things. And I also wonder if Past Lives is going to inspire a cultural phenomenon of people reaching out to exes or old friends or work colleagues that they had a crush on in the past to try rekindle the magic, and then just leading to awkward interactions across the globe. Like, this is not a past life situation, Nigel. We were never friends, and it's not 12 years since we last saw each other. In fact, this is the third time this week you've shown up in my place of work being like, oh, look at us again. This is so us. You have a restraining order, Nigel, and you need to leave me alone. Either way, unintended consequences are not aside. This is one of the best movies of the year. It's a triumph from all involved, and you need to make it your business to see it ASAP. That's Past Lives. It's in cinemas over here now.